Journey's follow-up to 2008's Revelation was a very divisive album. It was not very well received by critics, and I don't think it was very well received by fans either. But I think Eclipse is actually a pretty fun album. I think mostly because it is so different. So let's get into why it is such a different album for the band. Welcome back to Pixel Positive Music. This is part 14 of our 14-part series covering the history of the band Journey, one album at a time. That's right, we are on the final part of this incredible series. What a journey, no pun intended, has it been. If you have not, please hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of the awesome content, including an upcoming review for Journey's new album, Freedom. And then also you can check out the playlist for this awesome series, The History of Journey. And then for the Freedom content as well, there's a separate playlist. I'm going to be doing some bonus episodes on Journey, going over probably some solo stuff and some artwork and things like that. So you definitely don't want to miss that content either. So make sure you subscribe. So let's get into Eclipse. So until very recently, Eclipse was actually the most recent album from Journey. And I think most of us thought for a long time that Eclipse was the final Journey album. I'm glad it's not. I don't think a lot of people like Eclipse, but I love it. I think it's a pretty interesting album. It is a very sharp departure from Revelation, like very sharp. Revelation was a very by-the-book Journey album. You had melodic rock, very radio-friendly music, ballads, just typical Journey stuff. From the first, 2 minutes of Eclipse, this is a very different sound. The band is just radically changing things here. Eclipse is harder, it's more progressive, the songs are long, they have almost like a wall of sound that is almost entirely dominated by guitars. This is a Neil Schon-led album. This is the way when I listen to this album, I always get in my head, so Neil Schon was kind of restraining himself this entire time, and this is the album where he just lifted the restraint and he just went crazy. And so I get it. Some people really don't like this album. Some people really love this album. I'm more in the middle. I do think I love this album, but it's definitely not my favorite Journey album. I think it's a very inconsistent album. It's got some very strong tracks, particularly the first 3 tracks are very strong, and it has a lot of weak tracks. So, the lineup for Eclipse was the same as before. Arnel Pineda on vocals, Neil Schon on guitars, Jonathan Cain on keys, Ross Valerie on bass, and Dean Keshner on drums. And it's also worth noting this is the final Journey album with Ross Valerie, who has been with the band almost the entire time since the beginning. He would get fired from the band actually in 2020. So, Eclipse opens with City of Hope, a 6-minute guitar-driven track that is, I believe, about Arnel's home, Manila, in the Philippines. City of Hope is a very strong track. It's very long, but I think it's okay. The guitars are very, very good. As soon as you hear the song, as soon as you hit play, you get hit with the guitars. This is Neil Schon playing, and it's very good. I think that if you're a guitar guy, you're probably going to really enjoy Eclipse, because Neil is doing some incredible things throughout this album from the very first track. City of Hope is very uplifting. It's very positive. It has a very awesome guitar solo at the end. But right away, this is going to be a Neil Schon nominated album, and it does not stop there. Second track, I think, is another notable track, Edge of the Moment. It's another guitar-heavy track. I think for me personally, it's some of my favorite guitar work from Neil. I love the riffs in this one. I love the sound that he's able to produce from his guitar in this track. Excellent solo, pretty good vocals from Arnel, catchy lyrics. I think Edge of the Moment, while again, it's very long, I believe it's over 5 minutes, it's a good track. The third track, Chain of Love, is very interesting. It's very, the piano play, it opens with piano. It's very progressive sounding. It's very mystical, and like almost cosmic. I think that's the word that I use to describe Chain of Love. It starts off feeling very cosmic. A lot of the lyrics have a very cosmic, like really big feel to them. The guitars on this are heavy. They feel more like raw, and it's another very long track, but I think this one kind of holds it. I think it holds it very well. Then Tantra is the fourth track. This is an interesting one. It's a 6.5 minute long. I call it a progressive ballad because it is basically a ballad, but it's very progressive. It's got orchestral moments. It's got pianos. It's got like a really nice guitar solo from Neil in the middle. I think Tantra is a very interesting track. And then Resonate, I think, is another pretty strong track from this album. It feels a little bit closer to a normal Journey sound. It opens with like some very distorted effects, but when the song actually starts in earnest, you get some pretty catchy lyrics. I think it's probably the closest we get to Journey's sound on this. I think for me personally, most of the rest of the album is pretty forgettable. She's a Mystery. It's kind of interesting. My problem with that song is it's a very long acoustic song, and then the last minute is very heavy and awesome. And I like a slower acoustic song, I really do, but She's a Mystery is too long. It's just a very, very long. It really drags. When I saw Journey live in 2014, they did play She's a Mystery. They also play Ritual. I think Ritual works a little bit better, but She's a Mystery was very boring live. I mean, the final moment was really cool, but most of the track, it just drags. That's kind of my problem with a lot of this album. These are very long tracks, and I love progressive rock music. I love Yes and stuff like that. I love progressive metal, like Nightwish. So I'm accustomed to long tracks, but don't think Journey really pulls off the 6 and 7 minute song super, super well. And it's kind of an issue I've noticed with the band. Basically, after Steve Perry left, on Arrival, and not as much on Generations, but on some tracks on Revelation, and then on every track here, their songs are getting very long. And sometimes it works, sometimes it really overstays. And I'm noticing that with some of the Freedom songs too. I think You Got the Best of Me is a little bit too long. I think Don't Give Up on Us is a little bit too long as well. So this album, it's a difficult album to talk about because it's just so different. I don't think it's bad. I do enjoy this album. I absolutely love the tracks that I listed. And I do enjoy Ritual. But I personally enjoy the album, but I really understand why a lot of people don't. It's very different. I think that's why I like it. It's a different sound compared to what we've gotten before. I think this is some of Neil Sean's finest guitar playing. It's not as melodic as some of his work in the past, but this is just raw Neil Sean talent. The issue is that the rest of the band is kind of lost here at times. I think the production is kind of slipping a little bit here. The mix, it works on some songs. Some songs, the drums and things get kind of lost. So, I think that this album, I can't believe that we're actually getting another album because the album did not do well. And the band, especially Jonathan Cain, they're pretty much against doing any new music after Eclipse, which is a shame because I love it when bands release new music, even if it doesn't hold up to their big stuff. I love it when bands do new music. So Journey, they went on a recording hiatus after Eclipse. They kept touring, they were still together and everything, but it took us 10 years to get the way we used to be in 2021. So we went from 2011 to 2021 with no new Journey music. And, as a big Journey fan, it was a drought. When I first really got into the band, it was right after Eclipse came out. So I went through almost my whole time as a fan of the band without getting new music. So I think Eclipse was an album that really caused the band to step back and think as well. So, I think it's a decent album. I really enjoy listening to it, but it's definitely not their best. And I'm glad that it's not the album they're ending their career on. It remains to be seen if Freedom is going to be better or worse, but so far I think it's probably going to be a little bit better. So, but we'll just have to find out tomorrow. So, let me know what you guys think about Eclipse, Journey's most recent album, other than, of course, Freedom. Leave a comment, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and definitely subscribe if you haven't. This has been an incredible series, 14 parts. We got to explore every album from this band, and I did my best to really showcase these albums and talk about them. I know I don't get all like the technical terms and stuff like that, right? I'm not a musician, but just as someone who enjoys Journey and has enjoyed them for a long time and has actually sat down and listened to every single one of these songs multiple times, this has been so much fun. I mean, I absolutely have enjoyed covering the history of this band one album at a time. It's a series I'm definitely going to continue on with other bands. I think I'm going to do Styx next, and then next year, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Queen's first album, I'm going to do this with Queen, which Queen is my favorite band, so I'm really looking forward to that, but I am going to wait till next year just so I have some more time to work on the production side of the channel a little bit. So the history of series is definitely going to continue with other bands and musicians. I think it's a really fun way to explore the evolution, no pun intended again, of a band's work. I mean, Journey's never going to hit the levels they hit in the 80s, but it's really fun to really just follow their progress, follow, their failures and their successes and their missteps and their hits, and it's just a lot of fun. So it's a very fun way to look at a band by going through every single album, including the ones from the beginning that most of us don't even really listen to too often. It's a great way to do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I'm getting lots of awesome feedback. Viewer counts are doing really good. Just got to get some more subscribers so we can really build out this community. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe, and I will see you guys at the next video, which is going to be a review of Freedom. Best way to cap off our Journey series is with a review of their newest album, Freedom. So you guys have that to look forward to tomorrow. So until next time, guys.